my loves, and welcome back to Soulful Wahine. Today's episode is one that is very special to me for the simple fact that so many of you have requested that I do an episode on this topic. And so today, we're going to be diving into the topic of friendships with other women and what we can do to help heal from friendship breakups and moving forward, how we can build long lasting and soulful friendships with other women. And so, before we hop into today's episode, I want to share a quote with all of you that for me, I truly feel like speaks to the beauty of friendships with women. And so the quote states, "There's a sacred kind of love that only exists between women who truly see each other." Today, like I said, we're going to be talking about friendship, sisterhood, and the healing journey that it takes to create bonds that feel safe, deep, and real. Let's start here. For those of us who have experienced friendship breakups, they hurt like hell, okay? I myself have experienced a few friendship breakups, and I am a firm believer that some friendship breakups hurt more than romantic ones. And again, that's just my experience. That might not be your belief, but that's how I view it. And when it comes to discussing friendship breakups, I wanted to make sure that this was something that I touched on in this lesson or, on this topic of friendships with other women, because I know for me, no one ever really talked to me about how much it would hurt, how much pain I would experience, how much grief I would experience around losing friendships. And I just also want to throw out there that for many of us, no one ever really prepared us for that kind of grief. When it comes to grieving a friendship, it's not just about missing them. No. I feel like a part of the reason why friendship breakups can hurt so much is because a part of the grieving process is we are grieving the version of ourselves that we were with that person. And that can even be really hard. Sometimes you honestly might feel embarrassed or, feel dramatic for caring too much. Don't be embarrassed. You know, don't be embarrassed for the simple fact that you care so much, because it just goes to show how much you did care. And friendship breakups, again, I feel like friendship breakups hurt so deeply because sisterhood is soul work. Sisterhood is intentional. And when there's a rupture in that, it can hurt really bad. And I just want to make space for that pain and for that hurt. Because again, for most of us, no one really prepared us for the grief that comes with ending friendships. Now, I want to hop into why these friendship breakups hurt so much. First off, you shared some of your deepest, darkest, and softest parts of yourself with her. I know for me, I had a best friend that I unfortunately had to step away from just because our lives were going down two different paths, and for me it does it still does hurt sometimes because she knew parts of me that most people don't. Another reason why it hurts so much is you planned your futures with each other. Like, I know for so many of us girlies, like, we always talk about, like, okay, like when we become moms, like our kids are going to be besties, and, our kids are going to do these things, or we're going to do these things. We're going to travel. We're going to go see this. We're going to go do that. And amongst, among all of that, sis, we also supported each other's healings. We also were there for each other in some of our deepest and darkest moments. And we made room for each other in each other's worlds, which again is intentional, which again is soul work, which is why these types of breakups hurt so bad. Another reason is that when these friendships end, it's not just a rupture in our life, but rather a rupture in our nervous system. Because again, this was a person of comfort. This was a person that we felt extreme joy and love around. And when we lose that, it ruptures our nervous system as well. There may be times where you might question yourself, like, was it me? And you know what? I'm going to be so real with you right now. Maybe partially it was. And that's okay. Because here's the thing, that's not the whole story. Okay? There's multiple reasons and there's multiple factors. And again, the more we can gain awareness around how we show up in friendships, it can maybe help prevent future friendship breakups. How do we begin to heal from friendship breakups? Well, like I always tell my clients, feel it. Don't minimize it. Don't judge it. Don't put it in a little box and put it on your shelf for you to come revisit another time. No. When these emotions come up, when this grief comes back up, allow yourself to feel it. Because that's the only way that we're going to be able to release it, is when we allow ourselves to actually feel it. Honor the good moments. I know that when we are in our grieving stage and when we are, looking back at the friendship, especially if we were the ones that ended the friendship, I know that there can be moments where it can be hard to remember the good times or the good moments. And for me, I just want to throw out there, honor those good moments, because there was a reason that you loved this person so deeply. There was a reason the friendship was so important. There's a reason why this is hurting so deeply. And I just want us to honor that. Do some self reflecting without blaming, okay? And when I say this, I mean, look back, especially if the friend or the person was able to give feedback. If, they give the feedback of like, "Oh, well, I feel like it's very one-sided," and that's the reason why the friendship ended. Reflect back, try to see where this friend was coming from, and as always, no judgment, no shaming ourselves, but rather just creating awareness around how we are showing up. Give yourself time and space to grieve what could have been. Again, like I just touched on, for many of us, we build these friendships with the idea that they're going to be for life. They're going to be for L. Like I know that's how I build my friendships. Like, especially the girlies that are close to me, there's an expectation that you are going to the grave with me. This friendship is like, it's eternal type of thing, you know? And so when that doesn't happen, or when again that's ruptured, give yourself time to grieve what could have been. Another thing that we can do is leave space open, even if reconciliation never comes. I want to share a little story with you folks. I know that my friend, when she listens to this, she's gonna know exactly who she is. Oh, I'm getting emotional again. Damn it. She's gonna know who she is because it's so funny, this one, because it says, leave space open even if reconciliation never comes. And I had a really good friend. I had a best friend of mine that, something unfortunate happened that led to me ending our friendship. And for years, I was so angry at her because of what I thought she had done. And unfortunately, it took a tragedy to happen for me to put my anger to the side and essentially forgive her, because this tragedy helped me realize how short life is. And It's so funny because had you asked me maybe 2 years ago or even last year, you know, hey, how are you and so, or would you ever be open to the idea of pursuing a friendship with her again? And I would have told you, fuck no, absolutely not. But I left space open, not hoping for reconciliation, but just being open to the idea that maybe she has changed. Maybe we've both changed. Maybe we both have grown. And we reconnected around my birthday. She knows exactly who she is. And we were able to talk about how essentially what made me end the friendship never actually happened. And someone twisted things between us. And so I'm sharing all of this because for me, leaving room for reconciliation is definitely something that helped me grieve and helped me be able to be open to the idea of reconciliation. And lastly, I just want to throw out there, sis, please remember that closure isn't always a conversation. For some, it might be, but that's not always an option. And so I just want you to keep that in mind. Let's shift gears and now start to talk about our own patterns and talk about how we show up in friendships. Okay? So, are you someone that pulls away when you start to feel close? Do you feel threatened when you see another woman shining? Do you become the therapist friend? Do you struggle with jealousy or comparison? Are you someone that keeps friendships kind of at an arm's distance in order to avoid disappointment? And while we're doing all of this, sis, while we are reflecting on these questions, be gentle with yourself. Again, not meant to pass shame or judgment, but rather build awareness on our habits. I know that for me, one pattern that I know is a pattern, and I didn't realize it was a problem until I met one of my besties. Um, for those who know me, they know I'm very low maintenance. um, and what I mean by that when I say I'm a low maintenance friend, I mean probably won't hear from me often, you probably won't see me often. But when it comes to the big important events, when it comes to you needing me, I'll be there, no questions asked. And it took me meeting one of my current besties. Shout out to Ashla. um, but it took me meeting my bestie Ashla for me to learn that not everyone is okay with low maintenance friendships. Um, my friend Ashla is someone who is very community oriented, someone who is very, all about just building a community of supportive women. And it was funny when I met Ashla, we hit it off immediately. You know what I mean? That's why we're besties, but I learned very quickly that my low maintenance ways were not going to work with her. For example, I am someone that, like, when I go through things, I disappear because for the simple reason of my misery does not like company. So when I am going through things, I kind of go MIA. Like, I kind of just fall back completely and just handle shit on my own until I feel good enough to return. And in my other friendships, that was okay because even when I would disappear, some of them would text me and be like, hey, bitch, like, I know you're going through it, but just text me an emoji or like, let me know that you're alive, you know? So it worked. I met Ashla and yeah, that shit did not work at all. I disappeared for a little bit and she was like, hey, like, I get it, life is hard, but I'm your friend and you need to talk to me. Like, at least give me a heads up because I worry about you when you just kind of drop off the face of the earth, And I never took offense to it. It was just something that for me, I had to learn, like, oh wow, okay, like I am someone that just kind of falls off. I am someone that just kind of, takes a huge step back when I'm going through things and I disappear. And that doesn't work for her. And so, because of her, I had to learn how to operate in this friendship. I had to learn that my low maintenance ways were not going to work. And that's okay, because I truly believe that with her pushing me out of that comfort zone, I have been able to learn to be a better friend. I have been able to learn to show up better and not just disappear off the face of the earth. I still do it, but I know with certain friends like her, there needs to be a heads up, and that's okay. Us to now talk about, why do we sometimes struggle with female friendships or with relationships with other women? First one, right off the bat, that I typically hear is past betrayals from women that we have trusted, whether it be our mom, whether it be our sister, whether it be our best friend. Somewhere along the line, we have experienced past trauma from other women, and so it makes us kind of wary to get close with other women. Some of us might have internalized beliefs like women are too much. I know that for me growing up, I always had in the back of my mind, like, because growing up, I've always been a tomboy, so it's always been a lot easier for me to make friends with boys compared to girls. And I 100% was one of those girls, like, boys are less drama, girls are too much for me. Until I realized, like, no, guys are pretty fucking dramatic too. Like, real shit. And I realized that the depth of love, the depth of friendship that I was looking for, but I mean this in the most respectful way possible, but my male friendships could not offer me that. So I had to unlearn some of the internalized beliefs that I had about women and like women friendships. Another one is survival mode. So there's no time or trust for connection. Like, you might be in a period of your life that might be a bit too hectic right now, might be a bit too chaotic for you to even want to give the thought to dive into female friendships. You could also struggle with a fear of being replaced or a fear of being left behind. Another one that I hear is, it was never modeled for you. So, as I always point out, a lot of our habits, a lot of our things come from childhood. And the way we approach friendships is very much the same. What did your parents look like in friendships? Was your mom and dad someone that was big on friendships, that was big on community, and big on establishing a chosen family? Were your parents people that were more recluse, kind of just kept to themselves or kept to each other, and didn't really have outside friendships? A lot of times it's very much modeled for us or not modeled for us. Again, for example, for me, I have a mom and a dad who friendships were very important to them. Friendships and community were like a pillar in their lives. And so for me as an adult now, I put a very big emphasis on my friendships because of them. And lastly, there could be some childhood wounds. So not knowing how to feel safe in sisterhood. Because again, kind of going back to the first thing I mentioned, past betrayals from other women. So all just things for us to think about, all just things for us to, begin to reflect on how are they impacting us. Okay, now I want to talk about some red flags in friendships, because let's be real, I'm pretty sure we've all had a run in with at least one friendship that maybe wasn't the healthiest. Some red flags that I typically see or hear about within female friendships: one-sided emotional labor, meaning someone is constantly dumping on the other person but isn't making room or time or space for the other person to then dump or share on them. There is subtle competition masked as advice. Next one is some inconsistency without accountability. Oversharing without intimacy. So this one can be a big red flag in the beginning stages. So if you two are still kind of getting to know each other and someone is just dumping, it's just something to be mindful of, something to be aware of. Passive aggressive behavior that leaves you confused. So does your friend or friends ever do things or say things that ever kind of like has you like stopping and thinking and like, wait, what did she mean by that? And lastly, one thing I want to throw out there is trust how you feel after hanging out with that person, because that will be your sign. Meaning, when you leave interactions or when you leave from hanging out with this person, do you feel like your cup is refilled? Do you feel like, wow, like I'm energized, like everything is going to be okay and I can take on the world? Or do you maybe feel bad about yourself? Do you maybe feel emotionally drained? Do you maybe feel confused about the relationship? All things for us to just be aware of. On the contrary, what are some green flags in sisterhood? You feel seen and not judged. You know, when you share things, your friends make you feel like they see you and they understand you and they're not judging you. You can cry, shine, or even sit in silence and still feel loved. She holds space for your evolution and your growth. She celebrates you publicly and checks on you privately. And so this one I feel like I want to touch on a little bit because I hear a lot about this, not only from my own friends, but from clients. You know, because we live in a digital era, because we live in an era where social media is so important. One thing that I hear is some women have told me, you know, like, oh, like my friends will post with their other friends, but they never post anything about me. Again, it's just something to reflect on and to create awareness on. And so with this one, celebrates you publicly, meaning when you've made a big achievement, are they sharing about it? Are they talking about it? Another green flag is she apologizes or they apologize. They self-reflect and they grow with you. Trying to have the idea that there will never be any issues or any, you know, any disputes throughout a friendship is, I'm sorry, it's a crock of shit, to be completely honest. And so having someone who is willing to apologize, self-reflect, and grow with you and move on from things, I just want to say, true sisterhood, true friendship does not shrink you. It expands you. Next part that I want to touch on is how we can create soulful relationships. So first off, be who you want to attract. If you are wanting more, you know, hiking friends, if you're wanting more climbing friends, if you're wanting more brunch friends, you know, put yourself into those atmospheres and be who you want to attract. Initiate, okay? Don't just wait to be chosen. I know that this part can feel very scary because I feel like as adults, making friends is hard in general. And so initiating something can be very scary. However, at the same time, we never know if we don't try. So initiate. Build rituals, you know? So do monthly check-ins, coffee dates, voice notes, things like that that can keep you feeling close even if you're not able to see each other as often. Practice honest, direct communication. And please be kind because none of that brutal honesty shit actually works. And I just want to say if you have someone or if you're dealing with someone in a friendship capacity who says really mean things to you and covers it under the umbrella of, well, I'm just being brutally honest, sis, that's something to look at. That's something to take note of. Because again, true sisterhood does not shrink you. And true sisterhood will learn how to talk to you, will learn how to get things across to you in a kind and respectful way. Because I'm sorry, if someone is saying that, I'm just being brutally honest, majority of the time, they're just being an asshole. So, other steps to how we can create soulful relationships or soulful friendships. Celebrate her wins like they're yours. Let her know, like, these accomplishments, they mean just as much to you as they do to her, and that they're just as important. And lastly, leave room for rupture and repair. Again, having the idea or thinking like, wow, this friendship is perfect, we're never going to have any issues, it's a crock of shit. So leave room for error, leave room for rupture, as well as repair. I just want to talk about healing the wound between women, okay? Because to me, I truly feel like sisterhood is a form of rebellion in a world that profits off of our separation. Like, that's truly how I feel. And for me, I wanted to make this episode because I want us to start healing those old stories and those old wounds of, you know, women are not good friends, or I'm not like other women, or I can't have relationships with other women. Because I just want to say, sis, sisterhood has been one of the most amazing things I have ever been able to experience. And it's honestly been life-changing and life-saving. I want to say that you are worthy of friendships that feel like home. And when you find them, sis, make sure to give them the time, care, and nurturing that they need. Little reflection activity for kind of like a little gentle mirror exercise. So, who were you in your last friendship? Did you speak up for your needs? Did you assume or communicate? Were you present or performative? And did you create safety for her too? Again, take time to reflect on these. If you want to write them down and journal them, totally fine. Take some time to reflect. Take some time to look at your own pattern and how you used to show up, or how you do still show up in your friendships. And I want to give you folks a journal prompt for tonight, if you're open to doing it. So the journal prompt is, if I could write a letter to my younger self about friendship, what would it say? Let her know that it's safe to trust other women, that she deserves softness, and she deserves women who hold her with love. Before we close out, I want to leave you folks with some affirmations as always. I am worthy of real, deep, beautiful sisterhood. I attract women who love me in all my layers. I give what I wish to receive in my friendships. I release my past betrayals, and I open my heart again to sisterhood. And lastly, I am ready for the sisterhood that I have been praying for. With us being at the end, as always, I try to give book recommendations. And this week's book is called Big Friendships: How We Keep Each Other Close by Anne Friedman and Aminatou Sow. I really like this book because it was written by two best friends, and I love the way that they speak on the complexities of sisterhood and what goes into that, especially long distance friendships. As always, I'll have it linked in the show notes below. And lastly, sis, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or you've been here since the beginning, please know that I truly value your presence so much. If this episode resonated with you, leave a comment so we can chat about it. Share it with a fellow Wahine who might need to hear about, sisterhood and friendships. And until next time, sis, mahalo and aloha.